Hi there. So I realised in the last video I missed out one or two things, so I'm gonna go across them right now, namely how to actually build this. This right here is the asteroid belt system. If I go into where is it, demo? So these are the arrays for each bit of food. As you can see there, this is how I'm spawning the asteroids in the belt. Sorry, very warm today. Feeling myself drifting off a little bit. I might need to take a nap. So if I go back one, where we are, blueprints. Here we go. So in the blueprints, there's the belt system. So I bring that out on here, literally just drag it out, and there it is. So this is it here. There's also the cube, cylinder, sphere, spline, which is kind of cool. I can like drag that along, make like a big old line. The test followers there, and the asteroid data tables there, which I've just shown you. But this is the one for the demo. This test actor is what's used for the chunk system, which is, from my limited understanding, is the culling system to have, whatever's in X distance of the actor is spawned as an interactable object actor, and if it's not, then it's outside that, and it's an instanced hierarchical instanced static mesh. Ugh. But I don't fully understand that just yet. That is, again, something that I will be looking into in the next few days. But optimization hasn't really been a thing that I really need to concentrate on at the moment, because the maps are actually quite small in the grand scheme of things. The system itself, I'm told, can handle like up to, well, it says it can handle up to 1 million plus asteroids, and I'm only really dealing with like sort of 20,000 or so here, so it's a very small amount. So anyway, so once this belt is placed on the level, you come here, go down to asteroid options, create an array element. There's 11 on this particular one. The asteroid data here, this is what you need the data table for. So you create your data table, put your elements into it, which I did in here. Take from that barbecue data table, which I have, and then on the barbecue data table, select the piece of food that's on there, or whatever item you've got on your data table. Decide how many of them you want. The randomization is for scale. Now I've chosen to use uniform scaling because so what you want is, if you look, so the rotation is that's just spawns it at a random rotation, right? So that it's not all just flat, which would be incredibly boring. The scale is, I've got it all at the same size because I don't want it'd be fine to have like one object bigger or smaller than another object, but it's like if you've got a salad bowl and then next to it like a tiny salad bowl, it's going to kind of look a bit weird. I'd rather have like each object have like its own size, which is something that I've been able to do in the other version of this project, which is the Unity version. Something I'll go into later. Once that's built and up and running. In that, we've created prefabs of each item, so I've been able to sort the scaling out within the prefabs, so that when it spawns into the map, that scaling is already sorted out. So the salad bowl is bigger than a potato wedge, for example. If I wanted to do that on here, I would have to do that for each individual item, which is not a big deal when you're doing it for one map, but it kind of turns into a big deal when you're doing it for 8 maps, and there's like 10, 11 food items per map. Obviously you're doing quite a lot of altering there, and also you need to sort of know in advance what scale. Actually, I can, now that I mention that, I can actually use the scaling data from the Unity project and use that to inform the scaling data within this project. So that's actually not that bad. I might actually be able to get through this relatively quickly. The reason I said uniform scaling is because you don't want your object to be like flattened or stretched or anything like that. It has to be like, it has to look like what it looks like, just either bigger or smaller than whatever. So you can set the minimum scale to say be 10, and then the maximum be like 100, which would it's not related. That uniform scaling, that just means, as I say, it's either that big or it's that big. It's not like that big, like thin or anything, right? So the minimum scale and the maximum scale is just simply, it's either this big, or it's somewhere between this big and this big, right? Minimum scale and maximum scale. Chosen to keep that, again, that uniform, because I don't want one big salad bowl and one little salad bowl or whatever. The scale multiplier and the spawn chance. Now, this is not something that I've been able to look into much. I think it's got to do with where it spawns on the curve, but it's not really something, from what I gather from the documentation, it's not really something that I need to focus on. If I wanted to make more elaborate looking maps, then I would look into that. But at the moment, I'm just more focused on getting a workable game. Between shows is where something like that is something I can look into, or when I've got the time to do that. But we've got to be careful of scope. Always got to be careful of scope. So the where are we at? So the rotations down here. You can enable the rotation, set the Z rotation rate to 1, so that it spins on a little axis very slowly. The chunk system here. This is there, chunk spawn distance updates per tick. This is the culling that I was talking about. Again, I'm not 100% certain how this works. There is only like 6 options though, so it's not something that I think would take a long time to learn. But it's not something that performance issues is not something that I've run into either on playing in the editor or from an executable file. In fact, the executable files seem to work better than playing the editor, which is understandable. So yeah, I don't really need to look too much into that. Maybe for the buffet level, where there's a lot more items, I could probably look into that. But again, there's only 80,000 objects in there. You know, I mean, I could add a 0 onto each one of those thousands, because talking of the array element, this took a while. Is adding, a bunch of them are open. In fact, they're all open. Okay, they're all open. So there you go. Yeah. So yeah, element 80. So there's 80 elements to this. That's the sphere. That's where you just choose the size. You do the same in the belt. You can choose like the scale of it, you know, how stretched it is, how wide it is, tall, etc. Yeah, you can change that quite a bit. So there's quite a lot of options there. You could put one within the other if you wanted to as well. You could mix these up, but then performance, oh boy. The hollow radius is that inner sphere that I spoke about. So this works as a reasonable size. And I think, hopefully, that is actually it this time for the maps. Apart from the skyboxes and the other little elements, I've really just talked about the asteroid system here. The planets, I would like to create a planet for each map, as I spoke about in the last video. And the skyboxes, I would like to make them a little bit more elaborate, although that being said, I actually quite like the subtlety of them as well, because you don't want a background that's too noisy. As I actually think might be the case on the fast food map. It's a bit bright on the background. I'll have to take that brightness down because it looks cool, but I don't. Yeah, it's like I say, a bit bright. Also, the directional light as well. I think I'll have to add another directional light for the other side to add some like indirect lighting. If I was living in the future and I had Unreal 5, then I'd be able to mess around with Lumen and their indirect lighting function and get this looking absolutely perfect. But unfortunately I don't live in the future, and Unreal 5 only came out like 2 or 3 days ago, so sad times. Shame. But whatever. Yeah, I think that's the end of this video. Race blueprint, supply blueprint. Yeah. Apart from the fact that I'm adding the racy stuff in, checkpoints and stuff. But I'll talk about that in another video, as long as I get it all up and running by the time the show comes on. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I shall catch you in another video.